With the news dropping that the U.S. gambling industry has banned promoting sportsbooks at colleges and are staying out of the NIL game pretty much full-throated, the typical naysayers of sports gambling lashed out yesterday, and every Karen that hates sports gambling just took over the internet for a while. Now look, addiction is a real thing. I agree with that 100%. But gambling on sports is just like anything else in life. Balance and moderation are the key. It's no different than eating cookies. If you shove your face full of too many cookies, you're gonna get fat. And in my opinion, sports betting should be legal in every state. How one state can have a lottery but not allow sports gambling is downright laughable. That's like banning prostitution and opening up a brothel next to the Walmart. Now, the naysayers will also point out that people are just throwing away their money when they gamble on sports. Well, people throw away their money on a lot of different things. For some people, it's cigarettes. For others, it's a new boat you'll never use. Some people buy, Hunter Biden's paintings, while others get plastic surgery to fix their face and chest. Now, at the end of the day, just like every other facet of life, if you overdo it, then that's on you. But keeping sports gambling away from the NIL world and college collectives is the smart play. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that sports gambling is a bad thing at all if you do it the right way. I'm going to bring in my co-host, sports gambling aficionado. Ooh. Dude can read cover two like anybody I've ever seen in my life, David Cohn. And then Blaine, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. The dude's got more hands than Inspector Gadget.
Wow.
No. What, do you think that was going to be mean?
Yeah, I did.
God, you're just...
It was going to be, but then I reacted.
The Inspector Gadget comp, that's high level.
Yeah, why would it be mean? It's Wednesday. It's call-in day.
Yeah, I knew what you were doing.
You're just
don't act like
negative.
I knew what you were doing. You're my brother. I knew
you're just real negative. I need you to flip that to positive town. You're on the train to negative city. I need you to flip it to positive town.
I stay positive. Quit being negative.
I don't know. Are you?
You're being pretty negative this morning.
Aladdin?
It's running off on everybody.
I don't know.
I can see your ankles.
I don't know. You're good. That's what. How do you think we make the money? But David, when you look at sports, and there's a lot of different arguments, and there's some things that branched off of this that I know you want to get into. First off, not having sport, and we're sponsored by a sportsbook. We love DraftKings. I agree with it not being parlayed, for lack of a better term, into NIL and these collectives. I think it's good. We're not talking about professional players, because I think professional players, if they want to bet on their own team money line, should be able to. We're talking about, quote unquote amateurs, if you can even call them that anymore. But I do like the separation of sports betting and the NIL world. I do think that is necessary.
I think you hit on some good points in there. Here's how I feel about sports gambling and just wagering, more broadly. It should be a legal form of entertainment for adults who can engage with it in moderation and in an acceptable way. We should use alcohol and the tobacco industry, I think, as sort of precedent for setting age limits and monitoring and things like that. I think that's a fair comp for this. But to ban sports gambling completely, each state is going to have a say in how they want to execute this, and I think that is the right way to go about it. Utilizing the federalist system that we have here in America. It is funny to see the guardrails be put up at the collegiate level here with this headline that you were talking about, just because NIL had rushed in so quickly with these name, image, and likeness payments. Yeah. But I, as someone who still believes in the concept of the student athlete and says hey, this is still an amateur level of competition. If you want to play professionally, there's a level for that. I think that this is a good thing. Some of my fondest memories are sitting around a poker table with my friends. I don't have a problem with sports gambling. If I did, I would take the necessary steps to correct that. Just like I can have a glass of bourbon on a Friday night, I don't have a problem with alcohol, so I can engage with that substance in moderation. Again, as far as the situation with Bradley Beal, the basketball player for the Wizards, getting in an altercation with a fan who said something about lost him a bet, there's not that big of a difference to me in someone saying, hey, you're the worst basketball player of all time, or you're the worst basketball player of all time and you cost me $1,200. Yeah. It's not that, fans are going to say stupid stuff. Actually, did I tell you guys the story of when a fan called my house one time? We lost the state championship my junior year at Statesboro. We got a call to the house from some just random person who asked to, for me on the phone. My mom gives me the phone, thinking it was a friend or something. He goes, "Hey, y'all cost me a lot of money by losing that football game."
No.
I was like, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that," and I hung up. He calls back. I hung up again. Guess what I was doing? I was playing poker with 5 buddies of mine. Just like we're just, playing a poker game. So I don't know. It's people are going to do crazy things no matter what's legal and what's not legal.
Yeah, but you should have answered, yeah, but I won a ton off of it. That's how you should have answered, just hung up the phone.
Well, I wonder the next year when we won the state championship, if he bet on us that year, or if he bet against us.
I hope he bet against y'all.
Just lost it.
Karma's a real thing.
Yeah, it is a real thing. But Blaine, this whole sports gambling issue, the thing that I was the most surprised about outside of, when you had NIL and even the transfer portal in college football or college athletics, that they just threw out of the airplane and said, build the parachute on the way down. This actually came from the American gaming industry. This is, and it wasn't something that I don't think they were getting hammered over. Typically, whenever you see and I'll go back to alcohol and tobacco. Well, when did they have to put the warning on the cigarettes and stuff like that? They got forced to do that because people started dying and you started having medical, information available that forced them to do that. The American gaming, industry just did this on their own. So I want to applaud them from doing it, and look, are there pressures in certain areas? Yes, but I feel like this was a decision that wasn't forced. This was an entity that knows that their product, just like any other product, if you overuse it, can hurt you financially, in many ways, in your relationships, all that stuff. And they went and made the decision to separate it. That's why I applaud them, and I feel like it was the right thing.
I think it was the right move. I mean, at the end of the day, as time goes on more, betting is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I don't know at some point how we're going to keep it out of the college game. I really don't. When it comes to college, like, I don't think you should be allowed to bet NBA or anything. You bet on your team at all. Yeah. NBA, like you said, you think you could bet money line. I understand where you're coming from. You come from a good place, but I don't think it'd get too corrupt.
Yeah,
people would start throwing games for money. At the end of the day, they would. I mean, everybody doesn't have the same competitive spirit as we do. So I think it's a good thing in college. College is already getting professional enough, in my opinion. So keeping betting out of it, a huge win. But when it comes to the NFL and NBA, right now I think we're in a good place. I just hope it gets to the point where players can't bet. It stays like this, because I do think if we do open Pandora's box, there's no stopping it.
Yeah, well, and I want our audience to understand the NCAA already does not let athletes that are associated with the NCAA bet on games. So it's not, this isn't the sportsbook coming out and saying, if you're in college, you can't bet if you're playing. That's already done. That's in the NCAA handbook. That's what I'm interested to see when the NCAA ends up dissolving whatever new entity is formed. I'm sure they'll adopt basically the same language and the same rule. What this is doing is making sure that we're not just saying that, hey, athlete, you personally cannot bet on any of these games. It's not only can you not bet, you can't do a deal with one of these sports books where all of a sudden you're the face of Sportsbook A and you're also playing in a game this Saturday that tons of people are going to bet on. So it is totally cutting the cord from any association with collectives, anything with what I call true NIL, which is between the player and the product, which has nothing to do with the college, and the betting side per player or by the player has already been cut. So this is a full separation, which I think is the best way to do it at the college.
So what about sports books at NFL stadiums? That's something that's being considered right now by the league. How do you feel about that?
I think that's totally fine. Okay. Like, again, like there's alcohol served at NFL stadiums.
And that's one of the reasons I think that it might be dangerous. Mixing the alcohol with the sports gambling at the same venue where the athletes are, that could be a dangerous combination.
Yeah, and this is where I think, we can make the argument of, well, if I can just bet on my phone at anywhere, what's the difference in me going and getting a beer at the game, sitting in my seat and getting on my app and then betting, as opposed to walking the sportsbook and bet? Where it becomes interesting is in a state like Indiana, which I've been to, where you can only bet at the sportsbook. You can't bet online. When you walk out of that sportsbook, I can't go to DraftKings and bet. I've got to be in that sportsbook to bet. So if you're telling me that the only place I can bet is in that sportsbook at the stadium, that to me lends to people abusing it more than saying, you know what? you can bet on your app when you get outside the stadium or whatever, because now that's the place you have to go. I got to go to the DMV to do some things. Why do you think I will sit through waiting my ass in that line because I have to go here to do it? So to me, I think it's not as much having the sportsbook at the stadium. Is that sportsbook the only place that I can bet? And therefore, every time I go to this place, I'm mixing drinking and betting, and that's what my problem is. It's like gambling in the casino. You know, I can't go play blackjack everywhere for the type money and legally like I can in a casino. There's a reason they bring those drinks around in the casino and keep that air cold.
Last point here, talking about that federalist system where each state gets to decide. It sounds like the Kentucky State Senate will decide in the next 2 days whether or not to legalize sports.
Come on, guys. Come on. Just I don't understand why every state you can get drafted to the Army when you're 18. I ought to be able to gamble on sports in every state. I'm sorry. I love when states make their own rules, so I don't want to sound contradictory here, but I can also have the opinion it should be legal in all the states. I really think it should. So, you got to take everything in moderation, everything balanced is good. And I mean, again, that's the way I've always felt about it. You got to take care of yourself. What's going on in the Booster Club?
All right, let's go to Drew Koch. What's up, Drew? He says, I was born in Kentucky. Horse racing has been a staple in the state for years. Seems a bit hypocritical to not allow sports gambling.
Yeah, do it.
The mothership of horse racing.
Yeah, but Georgia has a state lottery. You're not even making an educated guess. They'll let you guess numbers you're never going to hit instead of saying, you know what? Give me UAB in the
Talking about educated, that lottery pays for the Hope Scholarship.
It's unbelievable. Why do you think the baseball? Why do you think I always laugh in amazement at how the baseball team's not better? Because they get more scholarship money because of the Hope Scholarship. How can you have a state lottery and not allow sports gambling? Hey, YouTube, appreciate you guys. Do us a quick favor right now. Do it right now, unless you're driving, and then park, and then do it. Hit the subscribe button, turn that notification bell on, hit that like button. We really appreciate it. You can catch all the content we're delivering at Crane & Company and here at the Daily Wire.